This is the Germans from Russia Experience, Episode 19, Coming to America, Kathryn's Journey. Welcome to the Germans from Russia Experience. I am the creator and your host, Elisa Long Rodriguez, and I'm here to inspire you and others to learn anything and everything about your own family heritage by providing information, experiences, and stories about a special group of people, the Germans from Russia. Today, I have something quite different for you. I'm taking a week off of the murder mystery, but don't worry, I will not leave you hanging on that. I will have more information for you next week and hopefully be wrapping up the murder mystery in Rushentown. But for you today, I will share with you my grandmother's handwritten account of her coming to America story. Now, if you are just listening on Spotify, you will be missing out a bit. I have made a video of this presentation from Google Slides that you can see on my YouTube channel. So you may want to get off Spotify now and go on over to my YouTube channel, The Germans from Russia Experience, so you can see all the slides that go along with this script. Enjoy! Coming to America. This slideshow presentation is based off a handwritten account by my grandmother, Kathryn Marcus Long Weigand. Our forefathers migrated to Russia from the Hesse area in Germany in 1763. They settled on the Volga River area. Villages were about 3 miles apart, situated along the river. The farms were outside of the villages. The wheat fields were further out on the steppes. I was born in Lauv on the Volga River on October 29, 1914. My father was Henry Marcus, and my mother, Anna Elizabeth Gamel. Father was in the Russian army stationed in Moscow. Russia was still under the Tsar rule. When I was 1 month old, Mother took me to Moscow so Father could see me. At the end of 1914, he was struck with pneumonia, as the winters were fierce in the trenches. He died on January 6th, 1915. About a year and a half ago, I learned that Henry Marcus was wounded the day after my grandmother was born. So he was probably recovering from that when she was taken to see him 1 month later, and then it is very likely that he did contract pneumonia based on the fact that it was super cold. There were no medications such as penicillin, and the Russians didn't care much for the German soldiers. In 1918, Mother remarried Philip Weigand, and we moved to Kukas, a village about 3 miles up the river. The communists now had taken away all the German people's privileges, and stepfather was conscripted into the Russian army. The German people were much to themselves and did not mingle with the Russian people. The Tsar and his family had all been killed, and the communists were slowly taking over. Father deserted from the communist army and had to hide out or be shot on sight. We were constantly under surveillance, and most of our belongings were confiscated. Many of our people were either shot or sent to Siberia. Stepfather had relatives in America, and so the underground arrangements were made that if we could get out of Russia into Poland, the German government would see that we would get to Germany and then through quota allotments into America. So in the fall of 1920, we were scheduled to leave Russia. Father managed to get home, and on the night of October 21st, 1920, we left, leaving everything except the clothes on our backs, what money we could raise, and what we could carry. It was snowing very hard. The driver took us in a sleigh to the Poland border. There were about 50 people in our party. There we were put out when we got to the border and had to walk to the nearest way station about 3 miles from the border. As the German people still considered us their people, they paid the Polish government to feed us until we would be shipped to Germany. Mother contracted brain fever, which was typhoid. We were told we would have to go on without her. I was then just 6 years old and terrified without her. We were fed in soup kitchens until we were shipped in boxcars to Germany. The refugee camp we were shipped to was at Frankfurt on the Otis River. There were 3 camp sections, and we were in each section for about 3 weeks until they were sure we did not have any diseases. In the first section, our hair was all shaved, and we were put through very thorough physical examinations. When we were through these 3 camps, we were put in barrack-like buildings with about 20 other families, and were still fed by the government. After 3 months, Mother was well and was shipped to Germany with another bunch of refugees. We did not want to be wholly dependent on the government, so we found work on a potato farm at Frankfurt in the Rhine area. We were sent to school. We had to wait for the time when the quota to the USA would take us. The documents were prepared. On July 10, 1923, we left from Hamburg on the lines Mount Carroll. This ship carried 500 people, small for an ocean liner. This was her last trip as a passenger ship. She was to be converted into a freighter. After a rough crossing, we landed at Ellis Island, but could not be released as the President of the United States had died. After 3 days we spent on the island, we were sent to New York, then boarded a train to be sent to our destination. We got to Fresno, where Father had 2 uncles who had to guarantee that we would not be wards of the country for 1 year. That was August 3rd, 1923, nearly 3 years after we fled Kukas. This is Kathryn's confirmation from the Free Evangelical Lutheran Cross Church. This was the largest confirmation class ever of this church. This is her graduation certificate from high school around 1932. The date written here is her birth date. It is not the date of her graduation. I like to note the mark for industry as being above average. I have often been accused of being industrious, and I quite like that adjective to describe me. And when I found this about my grandmother, I was just thrilled that we have that in common. Of my 4 grandparents, Kathryn was the most educated, and the 3 others were all born in the United States. I find that quite interesting. Here is her marriage, 1934, to Harry, my grandfather. They were, of course, wed at the Lutheran Cross Church, and the reception at the old Edison Social Club. Kathryn was naturalized in 1936. Here are pictures of Kathryn and Harry along with their 2 children, Richard and Carol. Richard is my father. My grandmother was no housewife. She worked for Grant's department store from 1953 to 1975. She was even a clothing buyer, and though she never drove a car, she traveled to Los Angeles by plane as a clothing buyer. She also was very active at the Cross Church in the Ladies' Aid Society and a very dedicated member of the Herman Sons Lodge social organization. Grandma passed away on February 23rd, 1992. I was holding her hand. Here are the descendants of Kathryn and Harry. There are currently 14 descendants of Kathryn and Harry, 2 children, 6 grandchildren, and 6 great-grandchildren. Of the 14 descendants, 4 have passed on and 10 are still living. Thank you for listening. This presentation was created from a handwritten account of my grandmother from 1974. She had written it for her grandson's history class. Thank you for listening and watching the Germans from Russia experience. I hope that something you heard today will inspire you to learn anything and everything you can about your own ancestors. If you like what you heard, please leave a review, like, and share this podcast. You can comment directly by emailing me at thegermansfromrussiaexp@gmail.com. Also, like my Facebook page, The Germans from Russia Experience Podcast. Please see my show notes for website suggestions to begin or continue your discovery of your Germans from Russia roots and about this episode. My podcast artwork is by Matt Wall. I received technical assistance from my friend Annie Anderson.